We're going to talk about the story behind this record in a moment, but I want to talk about the musicians that you have with you. A fine selection of musicians today. I should introduce them. Tavo Diaz de Bonilla on bass, Michael Bellier on drums, and Danny Ledwell, guy you know well, keys, electric guitar, and background vocals. But this record is filled with wonderful, highly talented musicians that you enlisted, maybe coerced, some pretty major Canadian talent. Doug Paisley, Sarah Harmer, Rich Turfry, also known as Buck 65, Ron Sexsmith, Justin Rutledge, many more great musicians on this record. Just tell me about the decision to enlist these people, these very talented colleagues here.
Well, I think that, I always, I have so many great friends in the music community, and sometimes when I have a show, I just want to have I'm like, oh, these 25 people could just pop up, and it's been a part of my personality that sometimes I try to subdue just a little so I can focus. I've had shows in Halifax like that before where literally there was 20 people, popping up. But, it just kind of started, I think it started with me asking Sarah Harmer to be part of it. And I think she's an amazing person and such a great songwriter and human. And I was just thought I'd email her on a whim. So, we've been friends for a couple of years now, and we went and visited her house, and we did that, and it kind of built along that way. Yeah, so I just thought.
And from Sarah, you just said, let's just bring in everyone.
No, it just kind of kept happening. Yeah, it wasn't the intent at the beginning of, when I imagined this album, I didn't imagine having guests on it really, but yeah, it just kind of turned out that way, and I think that, I'm kind of borrowing the energy of all these amazing people and creating something extra beautiful, and I kind of look at it as like a time capsule in my life of who I was inspired by in this time of my life and who was around me.
And you take such pride in this, but in bringing the people in and sharing this experience with them. But at the end of the day, these are your babies. These songs,
my song babies,
your lyrics, your songs.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you approach recording with some of those guests?
Well, I think that those guests have all heightened the songs in some way. Like Barcelona, we asked Ron Sexsmith and Don Kerr to add harmonies on that, and we had done, my husband Danny and I, and
who produced the record.
My husband and I and my producer, we were on tour with Ron last year, and when they sent back something, and it just felt like it heightened it in some way, like it was like the cherry on top of the cake. I fell in love with the song after they were on there, and. Always people are my friends.
So your husband, Daniel Ledwell, produces this album.
Dan's my man.
Dan's your man, and your brother.
Yeah, my brother
also
too.
on this record.
Yeah,
a little bit.
It's the first time we've recorded together. Daniel Grant, he plays the charango, and we grew up together best friends. And he's a cinematographer in Toronto. And he came over for Christmas and we worked on some stuff together. It was kind of on the fly. Yeah.
Well, it's special that your brother's on any album, I assume, but on this one especially because the sense of family is so pervasive throughout this record. And I want to talk about your mom. You've talked about your mother and a trip to Spain being major influences here. You lost your mom a couple of years back, and shortly after that, you head off to Spain. You take a trip to Spain. Why'd you want to go to Spain?
Well, actually, I was going there with Danny. We were playing a show, and my mom was really encouraging me to go, and she just kept telling everyone I was going because she knew I didn't really want to go anywhere, and she really drove that passion behind myself and my brother to follow our artistic passions, and so she just wanted to stamp that in there really securely that we would continue on like that. And so I went to Spain.
You mean you didn't want to go because she was...
I just didn't want to go anywhere. I just wanted to do anything. So I went there and I did my job. I played some music and stuff, and it was fun. But I did a lot of grieving there. And then when I went to write the album, it was a whole year later. But I found myself going back to that time in Spain, and I drew a lot of creativity of losing my mom, and... I learned a lot from it, and I take those good things and I try to put them in the music.
And when you're sitting in Spain, are you realizing at that moment that you're at the beginning of a journey that would culminate with this new record?
I wasn't thinking about records or music at that time, but I think my whole life I use everything that I can, that it goes into music always, so I'm not surprised by it, but yeah, there's really direct imagery from that trip that goes into the songwriting. And when I think about that trip, I kind of think about following the supermoon along the edge of the sea, and I just feel a lot of connection to that kind of thing. Beautiful,
It
the
was
stars and the
intriguing.
moon.
Spain was intriguing to you.
Yeah, I mean, or I could be anywhere and find something. If you look up in the sky, anywhere you are, it's.
See, it wasn't about Spain. I mean,
There was this part of it, like traveling around and hearing like the classical guitar around the churches, like that beautiful echoey reverb, that space, and kind of that patience in music. That was one of the things I wanted to go after with this recording, and that just warm sound. So there's moments of that throughout this record.
Because you have a song, it's called Barcelona, and in it you write, "Mama, mama, if you could see the white stone cities and the blue-green water carrying out to sea, and the stars over the azalea trees." Really beautiful.
Thank you.
Really connected to a place.
Yeah, yeah.
That's all you got. Yeah.
That's what it is.
Okay, so you're in Spain, and then after that first visit, you head home. It takes you another year to start writing this record.
I was actually touring my last record. We went to Spain. We moved into a new house right away in the country, and I was touring the beautiful wild. And when I finished that off, it was the spring, and I had a camper trailer that I got beside my house, and I went in there every day for a month or two and wrote every day and tried to write as much as I could and take the best of that bunch, which was just a new idea.
And did you need that time and space?
Absolutely. Yeah, because I didn't want to write like an angry or grieving, anything like that. Like when I create music, I want, like, ultimate goal for me is to share it with people, and hopefully it's something they can use, for their own lives. So my mother was such a beautiful, beautiful presence, and she still is, and I wanted to take all that beauty and all those good things and put it in music.
Well, it's interesting because, many musicians write about difficult times in their lives, have written about death of a loved one, but sometimes it can get very dark, which is understandable, but I don't hear that on this album.
Yeah, it was a really nice thing to wait until I was ready to write, and then to just delve into it, and yeah.
But let me just push you a bit more, because it's not just, being able to write from a happier place, or at least a more, thoughtful place in that dark time. You were able to turn a difficult period in your life musically into a record that's really so positive.
That's sort of the way that I was raised, I guess. It was a technique that we were taught.
A technique.
On how to look at life a certain way, or how to find the good things. And everyone can relate to death. Everyone loses people that they love, and people need that sort of, they need something to. It's an honor to think that maybe this music could help someone with their own losses.
And
to think of it like
I'm struck by you saying that.
I think when I think about death now, I don't think that it's all negative. I've learned there's so many beautiful things in it, and it's a transcendence, and it's a transformation. And our mother was an incredible teacher to us, and in her passing, she was this bright, beautiful woman who just kind of taught us how to die with grace and beauty, and it was a real honor to be part of that. And so this is kind of what I've learned from that.
So it wasn't hard to set boundaries for yourself creatively then, doing this?
No, I think the only thing I went in was that I wanted to write as much as I could, and because I used to kind of pride myself on writing really fast. Like The Beautiful Wild, I wrote in 10 days when we were in the studio in Dan's mom's farmhouse in PEI, and they guys would go buy milk or something, and they'd come back, and I'd be like, I wrote a song, and I'm like, okay, but so I wanted to push myself in that way, and just try to keep writing at that pace, but just write as much as I could, and it was great. It was a great experience writing wise.
I'm gonna read something that you said. And here's what you said. When I went to write this new album, it's like these really beautiful things came out about my mother's life and her passing, and all the beautiful things I'd learned about life and death, and of all the things she taught me as she was dying. And you talked about this a couple of minutes ago. But just what are the larger lessons here? What were you able to learn from your mom? What's your mom's name anyway?
Heather.
What did you learn from Heather, your mom, in her final days?
Well, I watched her accept her own death, which is not something that I was expecting to learn so quickly in life. I watched how you can do that, and I watched her just be so thankful for her life, her children, and I watched her bless us with what she wanted us to have for the rest of our lives, and just the way, just and simple things like in the hospital, she would be so caring to other people, and she'd still find humor and light in these funny things. Like right before we were in the hospital, I took her to the Junos with me, and we stayed at this fancy hotel. I wish I could remember what it's called. It's in Ottawa. Does Danny know? What?
Was it the Elgin?
The Elgin?
Yeah, okay. I'm getting names thrown
at
me here.
It was the Elgin. And then when we were in the hospital room, the nurses would come in and the doctor and stuff, and she'd say, "I feel like I'm at the Lord Elgin." I was like, "Mom, you're dying in the hospital." But then, and there was this man there, this chaplain who helped us. He was he was such a good help to us. And my brother and I, we were really stressed out, and we were trying our best to be grounded all the time and to be helpful to her. But it was a stressful time, obviously. So, because it was really quick too. It was a couple months that this all happened. But this one time we went into the room, and she had this look of peace and love on her face. And we were like, "Mom, what happened?" And she was like, "I'm in love." Like, what? And it was this man, David McGinley, from the hospital, who had he just talked to her about the beautiful transition she was about to make, and that she was such a source of light for people on life, that that basically her energy was boundless. It would be boundless, when she left, and this kind of beautiful journey she was about to go on. And he made us feel as excited and positive as we could about this idea of that. And, it's an amazing thing to think about life that way. And, it's really the great lessons of life.
Wow. That's really uplifting.
Good. Yeah.
I'm
glad.
Throughout your career, in your lyrics, you've never hidden your lyrics in these, I don't know, mysterious metaphors or symbolism. And this, only by way of comparison, not that your other albums weren't personal, but this is so deeply personal, this album. Is there a line for you? Because you seem really open. Is there a line for you, anything that you wouldn't feel as comfortable writing about? I mean, if you write about the death of your mother, if you go there, is there anything that's sort of off limits for you creatively?
I don't really. I think writing it's an exercise in risk, and wanting to take those risks for art. It's kind of the point of it, I suppose. So I don't. I feel limitless usually in writing. I kind of just try to. I'm searching and grabbing at anything really.
You're gonna play the song "Bring Me a Rose." Tell me about that song.
This one. Yeah, it's just about. I think in the chorus, when I grow up, I want to be a picture of my mother holding on to me. That's kind of the whole story there.